Grayson County had always been a place of quiet tenderness. For generations, the Miller family worked the fertile Virginia soil, but when the patriarch passed, his estate was divided among his sons. The older brothers claimed the rolling pastures and profitable timberlands. They saw future developments, wealth, and modern progress. To Caleb, the youngest, they left only the old, forgotten corner of the property. A small plot of land overgrown with weeds and briars. Upon it, at the dilapidated blacksmith shop, built in 1910. Its wooden walls were bowed, weathered gray by a century of storms. The tin roof was rusted, groaning softly in the wind. To his brothers, it was an eyesore, a pile of worthless junk. They urged Caleb to bulldoze it and sell the land for scrap. But Caleb felt a strange pull toward the sagging structure. Remembered stories of his great-grandfather working there. A time when the ring of the hammer was the heartbeat of the valley. With the key in his hand, Caleb walked toward the heavy wooden door. He pushed it open, stepping into the shadows of the past. Inside, the air was thick with the scent of cold, dust and old iron. Cobwebs hung like lace from the hand-hewn ceiling rafters. Shafts of golden sunlight cut through the cracks in the wall, illuminating thousands of dust motes dancing in the silence. Every surface was covered in a thick layer of gray soot. Tongs and hammers lay scattered, frozen in mid-gesture. It was as if the blacksmith had simply walked out one day and never returned. Caleb ran his fingers over a rack of rusted tongs. In the center of the room stood the massive cast iron anvil. It sat upon a giant oak stump, anchored deep into the earth. This anvil had borne the weight of 1,000 hot welds. Its face was scarred, pitted by decades of hard labor. Yet it remained solid, an immovable monument to honest work. Caleb cleared away the dead leaves that had gathered at its base. He felt the cold, heavy iron beneath his palm, a connection to a history he was only beginning to understand. He decided then that he would not let this place fade away. The next morning, Caleb returned with brushes and oil. He began the slow process of cleaning the ancient anvil. He scraped away the grease and rust near the base. He noticed something. A faint, straight line ran along the bottom edge of the iron. It didn't look like a crack from where it was too precise. He tapped it with a hammer, listening to the change in pitch. Instead of a solid ring, there was a hollow, metallic thud. Intrigued, Caleb searched the shop for a tool to pry it. He found an old cold chisel and placed it against the seam. With a steady blow of the hammer, the metal gave way. A hidden sliding compartment, cleverly forged into the anvil's base, slid open. Inside lay a bundle wrapped in oil-soaked canvas. The fabric had protected its contents from moisture for a century. Caleb carefully lifted the heavy package out of the iron. His hands trembled as he untied the rotting twine. Inside were yellowed papers, covered in elegant, faded handwriting, and beneath them, detailed technical drawings of folded steel. The papers were letters written by his great-grandfather, Arthur Miller. They were dated between 1917 and 1918, during the Great War. Arthur wrote of the hardships faced by the local farming community. With the war effort consuming all domestic steel, tools were impossible to find. Plowshares broke, axes dulled, and crops risked rotting in the fields. Without tools, the valley faced starvation and ruin. Arthur refused to let his neighbors fail. Began experimenting with scrap metal, old carriage springs, and files. The letters detailed his secret experiments with Damascus steel. By folding and welding different steels, he created incredibly strong blades. The blueprints showed the exact heat treatment and folding patterns. He forged tools that lasted twice as long as factory-made ones. He did it in secret, charging nothing to those who couldn't pay. He kept the community alive through the darkest years of the war. Caleb read the words, tears welling in his eyes. This dilapidated shop wasn't just junk. It was a sanctuary of survival. The legacy of his family was forged in this very room. Inspired by his great-grandfather's sacrifice, Caleb set to work. He spent weeks repairing the stone hearth and cleaning the chimney. He sorts high-quality coal and restored the old leather bellows. With a spark and a prayer, he lit the forge fire once again. The coal caught, and a warm golden glow filled the dusty shop. The smell of sulfur and hot coal brought the room back to life. Caleb selected his steel, following the WWI blueprints precisely. He heated the metal until it glowed a brilliant cherry red. He placed it on the anvil and struck the first blow. The loud, clear ring of the iron echoed across the valley. His brothers heard it from their fields and paused to look. Caleb folded the steel, hammering it flat, then folding it again. He repeated the process, welding the layers together in the fire. The heat was intense, sweat dripping from his brow, but he felt guided by the ghost of his great-grandfather. Slowly, the pattern of the Damascus steel began to emerge. A beautiful, swirling design resembling flowing water. Caleb forged his first tool, a heavy, perfectly balanced felling axe. The blade was incredibly sharp, showing the dark, wavy lines of Damascus steel. He posted a video of the forging process online, sharing the story. The response was immediate and overwhelming. People from all over the country were captivated by the history. They wanted tools made the old way, built to last a lifetime. Orders began pouring in, far more than Caleb could handle alone. A representative from a national heritage brand visited the shop. Impressed by the quality and the story, they offered a partnership, a contract to produce a signature line of hand-forged garden and woodworking tools. Caleb accepted on the condition that the forge remained in Grayson County. He hired local apprentices, bringing jobs back to the community. His brothers visited the bustling shop, humbled by what Caleb had achieved. They realized the true value of the inheritance they had discarded. The old blacksmith shop was no longer a relic of the past. It was a beacon of craftsmanship, heritage, and resilience, and the anvil still rang, keeping the heartbeat of the valley alive.